Street gospel, light of the temple. Sword swing, killer live from the ghetto. The hood messenger, let them know hell's close. Blackberry on the devil in a black cloak.
Yo, what's up? Welcome to the Street Gospel Podcast. I'm your host, Dave One, and you're probably wondering what's going on. Did you guys upgrade your studio? Things are looking a little bit different, but we're at a entrepreneur, CEO, I guess a motivator. I mean, the guy is super fit. He is a author. I mean, the guy does it all. You know, I hate these type of guys because they're just like Renaissance men, and I always have to step on my game, but that's what it's all about. But we're here at Fit Body Boot Camp in Chino Hills, and I have a great guest today, and his name is Bedros Keuilian.
Well, thank you for having me on your show, Dave. Really appreciate it, and hopefully I can meet your expectations after that amazing introduction.
You know what's funny is that everybody that I've had on, that's the first thing they say. I usually have a little intro and play some music before and give them this intro, and they're like, yeah, I don't think I'm all those things.
Yeah.
But I found you. I was telling your staff here. I found you. I was scrolling one day.
Yeah.
And I saw you on the gram, and I stopped, and I like what I heard, and I began to watch your videos. I followed, and I remember telling one of my best friends, I said, hey Ralph, I follow this guy named Bedros. I like what he's saying. He goes, oh, I follow him too, dude. That guy's dope. And I think there was a lot of things that you said, and so if I could start from the beginning.
Sure.
I know you came here with your family as immigrants from the Soviet Union?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, we in 1980, so June 16, 1980, we entered the United States. So we're about to hit our 40-year anniversary here on the 16th of this month. And I was 6 years old when my dad, who was a member of the Communist Party, and people go, well, why was he a member of the Communist Party if he wanted to escape? They ask you, like, hey, would you like to be a member of the Communist Party? So technically you could say no, but if you say no, your ass ends up in Siberia.
You're on some list.
Yeah, and so he says, yes, of course, what a great honor, and that was like in the early 1970s that he became a member of the party, and but he was just like, man, but my dad, man, walked around in Armenia wearing Levi's and Ray-Bans and Adidas and listened to, like, you know, Beach Boys and very westernized, very Americanized, and he would buy all that American stuff on the black market.
Oh, wow.
And while he was a member of the Communist Party, he was not a believer in the communist way. So what he did, which was very clever, and he absolutely risked his life, is he worked at a men's suit manufacturing plant. And he had figured out that, you know, you put these paper patterns on the material and you cut it out, and this is going to be a vest, and you cut this out, it's the trousers. Well, he found that if you put the patterns really tightly close together, after making so many suits, you can have this much material left that you can make another suit with, which technically that material should be thrown away. And he would stuff it down his pants and take it home, and he was making suits,
Nice.
like, you know, selling it in the alley, if you will. And so making side money. He had a side hustle back in the day, and he was collecting money to be able to bribe the Soviet officials to let us escape into Italy. From Italy, we went, when I say we, is my mom, my dad, me as a 6-year-old, my brother, who was 19 at the time, he's 14 years older than me, and my sister, who was 21. So I was the oops baby, in case you're wondering, why are those two like so much older? I'm the oops baby, true story. But we escape into Italy, and we go to the American consulate. We spend 10 days at the American consulate. They're pumping my dad for all this information, you know, because he's a Communist Party member. And then finally they accept our plea to let us into the United States as political refugees. And they're like, well, where do you want to go in the US? And my dad, really, we didn't have any friends or family here. My dad had like a friend of a friend in California, and he had heard that California and Florida are warm states. And Armenia, that part of the Soviet Union, was very cold where we lived. Like we had maybe 2 months of warmth, and it was just cold. So my dad's like, listen, I'm going to California. I know a guy, kind of, sort of. And so we came to California, and I'm really grateful for that, because since then I've traveled to every state in the United States. And while they're all great states, like California is very different, man. You know this, you live here. I don't need to tell you. But dude, we came to the United States, and now my dad was telling us as we're on the airplane, I remember this, he's like, man, there's freedom and opportunity, and KGB's not going to knock on our door like they do back in Armenia and ask questions, and there's like democracy, and all that sounds great, but when you come here and you're broke and you're poor and you don't speak the language and you don't understand the culture, and all of a sudden you're living in government-assisted housing in Santa Ana, and how old are you?
I'm 48.
48, okay, so I'm 47, same age. You remember Santa Ana in the 80s, like...
I work in Santa Ana now. That's where my office is at.
Okay.
It's not the greatest now.
Right, and it wasn't the greatest then. It was very rough and tumble in the Section 8 housing.
It's the roughest, sorry everybody from Santa Ana, but Santa Ana is the roughest city in Orange County.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, period. And so, which is whatever, the government-assisted housing, where we lived in the apartments were in Santa Ana. And before you know it, man, and of course, when you're the foreigner and you got a funny haircut and your mom like makes her clothes for you, I stood out in the apartment complex. And all of a sudden, you've got all these like gangbangers picking on me and stealing my old bike that my dad bought for like $6 from a garage sale. And now I'm getting beat up and bullied, and my dad's like, well, here's a screwdriver for you, and this is gonna be your weapon. Like, next time someone tries to take your bike, you're gonna stab him. I'm like, wait, what? Right? And I'm like, this is not what you said on the plane, bro. Like, on the plane, you said freedom, opportunity, and right, I had a very different picture as a 6-year-old. And we come here, and I hear my dad talking about we're running out of money before we run out of month, and he's working at a gas station pumping gas. He and my brother worked at the same gas station at different shifts. Both got robbed at gunpoint by the same guy. My brother, being an idiot, decided for some reason that he's not going to give the money to the robber as though it's his money anyway, right? So he goes, no, I'm not going to give you the money. The guy starts shooting at him. Thankfully, he didn't get shot. But I share this with you because it was like a rugged upbringing, man. Like cockroach-infested apartments. One of the Section 8 housings I lived in, I got lice. It was so filthy, I got lice as a kid. I was 7 years old at this point. And we couldn't afford lice treatment because every penny mattered. My dad had like 3 jobs: work at the gas station, deliver newspapers in the middle of the night, and then worked at a pizzeria in the kitchen. My brother worked at that same gas station and went to junior college to learn ESL, English as a second language. My sister, same thing, worked at a different place and then ESL at a college. And my mom was trying to raise me. And so when I got lice, my mom made my dad siphon out gasoline from a parked car, and like a little jar of gasoline, and then she washed my hair with gasoline. And people are like, what the fuck?
What?
I'm like, that's what you do as a foreigner, man, to make it. But what's really awesome, Dave, is that all that adversity that I dealt with in the apartments, in the 3 different elementary schools I went to, 2 junior highs, 2 high schools, is that I learned all that adversity ended up being an advantage for me because I learned how to build rapport quickly with people. Right. Because if I don't want you to beat me up, I got to get you to like me. And if you like me and we become friends, you're not going to fight me, right?
So did you develop a gift of gab there?
Gift of gab, gift of building rapport. And all of a sudden, as I grow up and I become an entrepreneur, I realize, hey, that same building rapport, that's salesmanship.
Right.
I developed a skill to sell myself, and now as an adult, I sell my products and services, my franchise, supplements, my coaching programs. But it all started that the disadvantage that I had as a young man became such an advantage as an adult.
Do you think, that's a great point. I think a lot of people don't use the disadvantage as a kid as an advantage or see it as an advantage.
Right.
And it really is, because like you said, I've always thought the same thing. I always thought because of the neighborhood I grew up in, the people I grew up around, it helped me to read people better. It helped me understand people better. I knew if this guy was trying to pull one over on me,
yes,
I knew where to stay away from,
yeah,
who was really looking out for me. Those are certain advantages we have. I think a lot of times young people today kind of look at that as a disadvantage, not as an advantage. And do you think that, hey, we don't all start at the same starting point? You know what I mean? But we're all in the race. That's what I like to say.
We're all in the race. And you know what? You're right. And the people that look at their disadvantages as like a victim story,
right?
To me, it's the saddest thing ever, because it all boils down to the story we tell ourselves. We could either tell ourselves the story of, well, I was a foreigner to this country. It didn't treat me well. I was in Section 8 housing. You know, the black gangs and the Mexican gangs who used to fight each other started fighting me and my brother, right? And then I was forced to start, stabbing kids who were a little older than me. At the end of the day, as a 7-year-old, I'm trying to stab a fucking 9, 10-year-old with a flathead screwdriver so he doesn't steal my bike, because if he steals my bike, my dad's gonna beat my ass. That's the bottom line, right? And like, no kid should have to do that. So if I keep telling myself that story, I'm gonna grow up with resentment, hating this country, hating the people, and hating the life that I live. And so, but if we can reframe, and this is the magical thing about being able to reframe, I think it was Napoleon Hill that said, every seed of adversity and disadvantage comes with an equal seed of opportunity and advantage. You just have to find it.
Right.
You just have to find it. For example, think, 48 years old, you definitely remember very clearly the 2008 housing market crash.
Sure.
You probably know people that lost their houses and still tell the story of, man, I lost my house, I had all these real estate investments, I lost that. Well, somebody bought those houses for a discount.
Very cheap.
Right?
Yeah.
And somebody became a multimillionaire during that time, while this guy's story is, I lost it. That guy's story is a reframe. Yeah, I was losing it, but then I figured out if I could just borrow money from rich people, I could leverage this and buy this apartment at pennies on the dollar. And so to be able to reframe your story that you tell yourself and to others into an advantage, like force yourself to become the Cinderella man or Cinderella woman versus the victim is highly important. Because if I see myself as a victim, then I'm going to travel through life looking for evidence as to reinforce why I'm a victim. Right. For example, Wednesdays are date nights for me and my wife. So last night we went on a date. We walked into a restaurant.
Where'd you go?
In Yorba Linda, we went to a place, oh shoot, it's an American Grill, brand new place that opened up in Old Town Yorba Linda off Main Street, right next door.
Was it good?
It was good. I'm trying to think of it since you're local. But anyway, I'll figure it out and I'll tell you.
Shoot it to me later.
Yeah. See, my OCD's locked onto it now. But anyways, Yorba Linda off of Main Street, great restaurant. It's a grill. But I share this with you because I've walked into restaurants before where I could perceive that the hostess looked at me differently. Maybe because I'm walking in with Chucks, a T-shirt and a hat on.
Definitely the tattoos, right?
Tattoos,
for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I could say, you know what? People in this country still show bigotry towards me, still treat me different. I could look for that evidence and find it in that hostess. But maybe she was just having a bad day. Maybe she just has a fucked up resting face. Yeah. Maybe I look like someone who insulted her one time. And so, I have that reaction to people. If you look like someone that hurt me one day, I might have a weird reaction towards you.
Sure.
That doesn't mean I hate you. I just, a memory, right? The old me used to be like, they still have like bigotry towards me. The new me is like, you know what? Whatever's running through your mind about me right now, I got a black card and I got a hot wife on my arm. I'm about to have a great dinner.
Right.
Like, you're not going to ruin my dinner.
Right.
And I'm not going to start telling the story of and looking for the evidence that I'm still the victim, I'm still the foreigner, I'm still the lower class blue collar person. Right. And so it's important for people to reframe, is what I'm saying.
I think a lot of times too, I'm the same way. If I go in that and somebody's judging me, and sometimes I forget I have tattoos.
Right.
Right? I'm just, I like tattoos. I got some tattoos and I go in a restaurant and somebody looks at, I like to win them over a little bit and show them like, yeah, I'm not the guy you think I am.
Yeah.
I kind of get a little kick out of that to say like, hey, I'm a nice guy. How you doing? And then if they're kind of withdrawn, I just kind of, okay. But usually I win them over and then they start, I make them laugh. And then they take me different. And when I go back to that place, then they're like, "Hey, what's up, man?
Right.
How's it going?"
Yeah,
so I think that's a good skill to have.
And that's a superpower. What a great superpower to be able to meet someone and then change their perspective on how they feel about you.
Right.
Right. Whereas, again, that's salesmanship.
Yeah.
You just sold yourself, your energy. You sold them on the idea that, hey, I'm a good dude.
But I think a lot of people, like you said, would rather do the easy route of. Oh, she doesn't like me.
Yeah.
And then let me give her attitude back or whatever,
right.
Instead of trying to win it.
Exactly.
I think one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and I what are we missing amongst young men these days?
Oh, God.
And what would be one of the root causes? I mean, you're a guy, you made your bones, you turned it around. You kind of leave a lot of guys that maybe watch this podcast no excuse why they can't turn it around. For example, I had a friend who had a daughter. She was 17. He had her when she was young. He didn't raise her. He was trying to still build the relationship. And he told me, he said, I kind of just left it. I don't want to, she doesn't want to be with me or talk to me anymore, and I'm just going to leave it. And I told this friend, I go, it's very easy just to give up. But if you think about it for a lifetime, she's only 17. But what about when she's 27 or 37 or has her own family? Like, there's a lifetime to make that right. Do we, or do young guys just kind of give up very easily and just say, my time's passed? And I hate when they say that, because they're usually like 25 years old or something like that. And it's like, I blew it. It's over.
Here's why that happens. We've got too much comfort and convenience now. We've got more comfort and convenience in our lifetime than we need.
Sure.
And it's unhealthy. Like, too much of, like, would you agree that if you had a headache and I gave you an Advil, it might help with your headache? If I gave you a fistful of Advil, it might make a hole in your stomach and give you an ulcer, right?
Right.
So too much of any good thing is bad for you. And so imagine this for a moment. We all know that we've got this reptilian brain, this reptile brain that is our first brain. And then we've got this neocortex, this new brain on top of that. Logic, reasoning, hello, how are you? Why walking through the door? I don't have to go. Like, is he a threat? Is he from the other tribe here to kill me? Because when we were cave people, my reptilian brain goes, if I don't know this guy, there's only so much food around, so much water. Like, he might be here to kill me and take my food. Today, we live in a world of like rules and regulations and whatever, where it's like, all right, man, I'm going to meet Dave. He's a cool cat. I've seen what his show's about, and we're going to do this interview. But I share this with you because when we were cave people, we had to find a shelter, a cave. Then we had to find wood and tree branches and dry them off and make fire. And then we had to hollow out a stump and then go way over there, half a mile away to the river to get water for our family. And then we had to push a boulder in front of the cave so that the saber-toothed tiger doesn't eat us at night. And then when we're hungry, I want that apple, but that saber-toothed tiger wants me. I got to get to the apple before he gets to me. Or me and the guys in the tribe have to hunt a saber-toothed tiger, and odds are one of us aren't coming back.
Right.
But don't worry, bro. If you die, I'll make sure your family still gets a drumstick, right? So we did not have, as cave people, comfort and convenience. We were active. We went to sleep tired, exhausted physically, mentally, and we went out and we hunted for our fire, for our water, for our food. And we had a tribe of people to belong to because we are pack animals. We are tribal. Today, we are isolated, number one. We have so much comfort and convenience. We can get filtered water, coconut water, this water, that water, and you can track your food, your burrito coming to you from Grubhub or Uber Eats. Oh, wow, it's on the intersection. Oh, where are they at?
Like, if they're 2 minutes late, we're upset.
Right, because you're 40,000 feet up in the air and you're upset at the flight attendant because your Wi-Fi is not connecting. Listen, man, you don't have fucking wings.
Yeah.
First off, be grateful that you're flying and not plummeting to the earth. Right. Don't worry about the Wi-Fi right now. But we've gotten so used to comfort and convenience that comfort and convenience has atrophied our instincts to hunt, our desire to work, our desire to get tribal and solve problems. We don't need to solve problems because there are no problems. Apps solve our problems. You get into your car, you start it, the door's locked.
Yeah.
The door's locked. You don't put on your seatbelt, it reminds you. So problems are solved for us now. Before, you don't put on your seatbelt, you get in a car accident, you're flung through the window. Now an airbag pops up and catches you like a catcher's mitt. You know what? We don't need airbags. We don't need airbags, so the retards who don't put on the seatbelts are flung through the window, just like in the old days where the slower dude gets eaten by the saber-toothed tiger or drowns in the river or catches on fire when he's incorrectly lighting the fire, and that is a thinning of the herd. We need that shit to happen. Now, it sounds rough and rugged, but the reality is that there's so much comfort and convenience, and everyone feels like I'm a lone wolf when you're not. You actually need a tribe, you need community, that they are stressed and depressed, can't sleep at night. So screen sucking on social media, by the way social media is designed is to create what's known as variable response. A variable response is the same thing when you go to a slot machine in Las Vegas and you push the button and you almost got the 3 cherries. Oh, so close. Put another $20 in, push the button, and now you got 3 cherries and a diamond, so you made $10 back. You got a little dopamine hit. That's called variable response. You don't know what the next response is. Why do you think we want to refresh and we want to see who's commenting, who's liking, who's sharing, and based on those actions that other people are taking, we feel good about ourselves or not. Not if I actually accomplished something meaningful for my family. If I met this guy, shook his hand, remember his name, and I go, hey man, how can I serve your audience? I just want to feel good this way, not through service. And so, but because we're still programmed to be tribal, we're still programmed to go hunt, we're still programmed to work, we're still programmed to go to sleep tired, we're still programmed to have a community to belong to. And without that, we're stressed and overworked and burnt out. From what?
Right.
We're soft. We have atrophied our minds. We have atrophied our resilience. We have atrophied literally our bodies. People are fat and sick and broke and broken down. When you have access to gyms, now they build parks with pull-up bars and tracks on them. The more they build to keep us healthy, the more unhealthy we get.
It's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy. I was going to ask you,
shame.
you know, I have a lot of friends. They're artists, tattoo artists, grew up in neighborhoods that weren't the best.
Yeah.
Right? And the crazy thing is they made it and they travel the world now. And they go all over the world. And I asked one of my artist friends, I said, he's from Pomona.
Yeah.
And I said, AB, what's the best country to live in? He goes, America, all the way. Mm-hmm. He goes, there is no place like this. And it was kind of weird because I wouldn't say, you know, the whole red pill term and all that, but he just believes in the American dream, sees it. He goes, I grew up in Pomona, man. I travel all over the world. I have my own shop. I do what I love. Have a nice house. Raise my family. And he goes, where else? He goes, I've been everywhere. There's no place like this. Do you think it's because they haven't experienced anything other than their little 4-block neighborhood sometimes, people in general in America, and that they don't know what it's like in what was the Soviet Union,
right?
Or how, even if we just go south of the border 30 miles and what it's like there, because they think everything is just like you said, convenient.
Yeah.
And so they take this for granted and they find things to complain about.
Not only do they find things to complain about, Dave, but you nailed it when you said they haven't been outside of their 4-block area. So they just think, because they hear it and see it on social media, and so they believe that this country is better and that country has greater opportunities. When guys like me that have come from a communist country can tell you firsthand, about 3 months before we escaped, there was a knock on our door. By the way, we didn't own a house. No one owns a house in a communist country. It's all government owned, right? So you know your friend who owns a shop and a house? He can't own a shop and a house there. He could rent a house, which is usually an apartment, a flat is what it's called in communist countries, and you're just mass living. Everybody lives in a cookie cutter environment. And if you try and stand out, they hammer you like a nail. But I share this with you because when you've seen the alternate way of living, there was a knock on the door around 8 o'clock at night. I remember it was dark, and my dad opens the door and speaks to these men and then lets them in. These men make our entire family of 5 line up against the hallway wall, and my mom is holding me by the shoulder, because I'm short, holding me by the shoulder, because I'm 6 years old, against the wall. My dad is answering their questions, and they're asking, where's the meter stick? Where's your sewing machine? Where's the material? They had gotten word that he is sewing suits and making money on the side. My dad was so good at what he did, he would hide everything. He never let anything lay out if he wasn't working. And when he was working, he made sure there was like windows, curtains were drawn and everything. They couldn't find a single thing. Do you know who that was that came? It was the KGB, bro. No warrant. No warrant, like, well, where's your warrant? Show me what the warrant, we can say that here.
No complaint center where you can email somebody and complain about them, or call your attorney and
if there were iPhones back then, they would take that iPhone and shove it up your ass. Yeah. Like, that's straight up how that works. And so when they couldn't find anything, and my dad was still nervous, I could see how nervous he was, he's like, in Armenian, told him, hey, look, you made all this way to my house. Let's not waste a trip. Why don't we sit down in the kitchen and drink some vodka? And so now the rest of the family, we can go sit down in the living room area, and my dad and those 2 KGB agents drank vodka all night, and then he sent them away happy. That doesn't happen here. Like, you won't have to worry about the FBI or the local cops knocking on your door, coming in without a warrant and checking shit out. based on a hunch or a suspicion. Like they need evidence, they need a warrant. You can videotape things. You can go and call, like I said, call a number and complain. And this is my constitutional right. And so when people are like, well, America this, America that, go live in a third world country just for, like, go 30 miles south of the San Diego border into Temecula and watch what happens when you get pulled over. Yeah. That they want to, the federalists want to take your ass right to jail unless you happen to slip them a $100 bill. When you experience that, all of a sudden you're happy in your scenario. But if you've never had that, you end up thinking that, well, you know what? Men can get pregnant, and because you say man can't get pregnant, I'm going to be upset about that. That's what I'm going to be upset about. Yeah. My shit was upset about not having food, not having water, having lice from one fucking apartment complex to the other, waking up with roaches covering my body. When you have to deal with that, you don't really care, can men have babies or not? That's not a debatable issue. It's, am I going to get food today or not?
Right. So we become a culture that's generated problems for ourselves.
Yeah. We've pussified society because things are so available, we are so comfortable, things are so convenient that, and because the reptilian mind still is programmed to find problems, when we can't find big problems to really deal with, we start manufacturing little problems. Like, you know what? I think your belief system is about guns or this. Well, my belief system is that. Like, stop it. Yeah. Because soon as if there was a, God forbid, another plane crash into the World Trade Center, tomorrow we'd be united again, because that's a real problem to solve. But when we don't have real problems to solve, we manufacture stupid, petty little problems where black against white, cops against this, and mask versus no mask, vax against no. What the shit are you fucking talking about?
We have bigger problems than that.
Of course. In the meantime, our country's in debt. Gas prices are at $7 a gallon here in California. Inflation's blowing up. The government doesn't want to tell you, but we are officially in a recession. Sure. They want to hold off telling you that as long as possible, but we've been 2 months in a recession. We're seeing that because housing market, Orange County, 4% housing market drop. Interest rates are going up, and we are seeing inflation not at the 7.5% like they say it is, but it's somewhere between 9 and 11%. And after the recession, we're probably about 6 months to a year away from a depression. That is going to be a real problem to deal with. And I imagine when unemployment rates are in the teens, 13, 14, 15%, and people are really lacking food, all of a sudden no one's going to care whether men can have babies or not. Right. And we're not going to care whether you're black, I'm white, we're both hungry, aren't we? Yeah. Your skin doesn't matter, because if you skin you and you skin me, we're the same color. Are you hungry? I'm hungry too. Let's go get food. Right.
Those issues, yeah. I think generating our own problems has been one of the major problems. And it never gets solved. I think the wokeness of this society, you never could be woke enough.
Never.
I mean, that's been an issue that I've seen. Sound like you had a father that kind of maybe worked a lot, maybe was rough around the edges, but he was present. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things we have in our society now is fathers that are not present, and how we created this culture where we think that sons or boys don't need a father or a good uncle or a grandfather or just a mentor in their life.
A male figure.
To help them.
Yeah, a real male figure, yeah.
How important is that? I know you do the project, and I know you do
the Squire Program.
The Squire Program, where you get an adult male and a youth, and they're together, and they're kind of going through this process together. Why is that so important in our society?
So I'm really glad you asked that. First of all, let's understand this, that if I were a member of the government, of the political party, and I wanted absolute control, I would want to disarm the population, number one, because absolute control means I want to tax you more and limit your access to things, right? Because the more you know, the more dangerous you are. So I want to limit your knowledge, I want to limit your access to information, I want to limit your ability to get your own money out of the bank. So if we can create digital wallets like we have been, if David becomes a bad boy, turn your shit off. Yeah. You're like, but I got $400,000 in the bank. Great, big boy, you can't use it now. That's what they did to the truckers there in Canada,
Yes.
right? When they were protesting literally peacefully. So I share this because if I was part of that group, I would want to remove all of the male, influential adult male figures out of the lives of the next generation of men. When I do that, these young men are not taught to become warriors, to be protectors, to stand in the gap between good and evil, and therefore are going to be conditioned to lay down when the oppressor says to. Whereas when you look at the current generation of men our age, we've seen shit, and then there's other dudes our age, over millions of them, who have been fighting a war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Like, they want to kill our generation off.
Yeah.
If they can kill our generation off and then leave our boys dumb, immature, and without claws and fangs and a moral compass, then you could now disarm them. You can control their thoughts, and you can, with disinformation, and you could also control their access, because they will not stand up like you and I would stand up to oppression. The men of our generation would stand up to oppression. Those in their 20s, early 20s and below, and I know that some of you watching and listening to this, you're like, man, I would die for this country. I love you. I'm glad you would. You are the minority. We need more of you. So if you're a young man who would die for this country and you would stand in the gap, you've got an obligation to turn 10 other young men like you into you. So we created the Squire Program for that reason, because I realized that we are just one generation away from losing our constitutional rights, our liberties, our freedoms, and the American way. And the American way is a very magical way, bro. I realize this country was founded on violence. I get all that. I realize that borders are arbitrary. I get all of that. I get it. But at the end of the day, there's a constitution that gives us the freedom to live like we want, for your friend to have a house that he owns, that he could pass along to his kids, and a business that he can make money from, to be able to, and the more he wants to work and the more employees he wants to bring, he can elevate his lifestyle, right? You can't do that in other countries.
No.
You simply can't. Like in Canada, I've got a coaching client in Canada. If you have more than $150,000 in the bank account, they charge you reverse interest. Every month you pay 2% back to the state. So he literally has to have less than $150,000 in his bank account so that they don't suck out money. In other words, they're saying, you make too much money, reverse. I was like, bro, what's reverse interest? Like, I heard of making interest. He goes, oh, they take 2% of my money every month. So I have to invest in things outside of Canada, right? So he invests in things like Bitcoins, cryptocurrency. He invests in properties that I buy out here, et cetera. But all this to say that once I realized that the dads out there don't have necessarily the ability to condition their sons on how to become modern day knights. There was a book that I read when my son was a baby, like 6 months old, and the book was entitled Raising a Modern Day Knight. The whole idea was that knights had squires, and the squire's job was to wash the horse and keep the armor sharp and clean, and to practice with the knight, and that knight would teach this young squire how to be chivalrous, how to open doors, how to be polite, but also how to, the street smarts of how to be violent and how to be a protector and how to have confidence, how to ride a horse and how to swing a sword. Those things aren't taught anymore, and we need those things taught, because if they are not taught, we will have a generation of weak man-children who will then let our Constitution collapse. So I was like, all right, I'm going to create the Squire Program, because every culture in the past, Aborigines in New Guinea, you name it, so many African countries, in fact, in New Guinea, they would, when a young boy turned 13 years old, the dad would bring him out of the house at night as the sun was going down. The dad and a group of friends that dad trusted would take the boy to the edge of the forest, would cut his arm with a knife so that he bleeds, and then hand him the knife and send him into the forest, and would say, you're going to stay in that forest, protect yourself, defend yourself, hopefully the blood doesn't attract predators, and when you come out of that forest tomorrow when the sun comes up, that is your initiation, your rite of passage into manhood. You have won a seat at the table. Now, the Aborigines in Australia had a different strategy they used, a little bit more violent, and involved, literally twisting off and cutting off the foreskin of the penis, and then, of course, fighting that boy. But Spartans would take a 7-year-old child and put him in the agoge training camps and would train them for years until they're around 12, 13 years old. And when you're right around that 12, 13-year-old age where you can hold a shield, big, giant, heavy Spartan shield, you now want a seat at the table to be groomed as a man, as a decision maker of the community, as a protector, as a provider. That doesn't happen anymore. See, young girls become women, and we see that because they have their menstrual cycle and they sprout boobs. And all of a sudden, nature says you are now a woman. Right. You can have a baby, you have a menstrual cycle, you have boobs. What happens to you and I when we're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old? Nothing, man. We sprout a little bit of this, we sprout a little bit of armpit hair, we start getting a little horny because of testosterone, but nothing physically happens. No one told us that, son, you got a seat at the table with all the other men in the community. You're going to help us defend. You're going to help us build. You're going to help us decide. I am? Shit, I'm no longer mama's baby. I'm a man. I'm capable. Yeah, you're going to teach me these things? Yeah, the core values, the tenets of our tribe? Yes. Holy fuck. That stopped happening, man. And so I brought that back, and the Squire Program is a father and son program for sons that are 13, 14, 15 years old. The dads fly out together with their sons, and we take 40 sets of fathers and sons through a 15-hour rite of passage experience. And then at the end, these dads all tell their sons, son, you have what it takes to be a man. Welcome, you now have a seat at the table. And myself and all the other elderly men in our family, in our tribe, in our community are going to groom you into being a protector, a provider, into understanding what this world is about really. You're no longer a child. I can't keep you safe and protected anymore. I have to expose you to the violence of the world, and I have to expose you to the ways of the world because you might have to stand in the gap one day. That is necessary for that to happen.
I 100% agree with that. I always say the voice in the young boy's life. When I got my job and the boss yelled at me, I wasn't offended. I wasn't, he's disrespecting me or anything like that. Why? Because I had my dad's voice when I was younger. Mm-hmm. Hey, get up. Let's get the work done. You're supposed to do this. You need to do your chores. So when I went to work, it was a whole different, it was like, well, I'm used to this. Yeah. I got to get going. I got to do my job. I think a lot of boys are missing a voice in their life.
Well said.
And they need that. Yeah. And I like what you said was we should feel obligated to grab a few guys, wherever we're at, church, school, the neighborhood. They may not have a father or an uncle or anybody speaking into their life and say, hey, listen, come over here. Let me show you a few things. I think a lot of men are so caught up in just, their own thing or maybe their own problems, and they forget about the next generation, which if we have anything we can pass along to, that's probably one of the best, but also one of the easiest things we can do.
So easy because who doesn't want to be friends with their son? Who doesn't want to wrestle and be rough and tumble with their son? All the things that you're like, I think I should do this. Do it. You don't know how to build a chair, neither does your son. Pop on a YouTube video and go to Home Depot, buy lumber, and build a chair. What a great sense of accomplishment that is. Me and my son were like, hey, we need to learn how to start a fire without matches, son. He's like, yeah, Dad, we do. I'm like, fuck it, let's figure it out, son. Watch a YouTube video, learn how to take a tree branch, dry it out, take out the bark, and get little moss and da-da-da-da-da with the shoestring, and then boom, it catches fire. Holy shit, high five, we did this, right? I didn't know how. My dad didn't teach me that. I'm grateful he brought me to this country. But outside of that, he's like, here's a screwdriver. Don't get your bike stolen because I can't buy you another one. I'm going to beat your ass if you get your bike stolen. So stab people. Okay, I will. But outside of that, I wasn't taught to open doors or that I'm supposed to stand, if the escalator's going down, that I'm supposed to stand below my wife so that if she tumbles, I can catch her, or the escalator's going up, I'm supposed to stand behind her, or on the sidewalk, I'm supposed to walk the street side.
Oh, that bugs me when I see guys doing that.
Right? I had to read that book.
Yeah.
I'm reading it for my son. I'm like, holy shit, I'm learning stuff.
Yeah.
And I realized that just putting food on the table is not enough. Any dad that says, well, I provide a house and food for my son, that's not enough.
Yeah.
That's not enough. That's like when people go take pride, I think it was Chris Rock in one of his comedy CDs back in the day. You and I would remember CDs, the younger generation won't. But he was like, I don't understand why people take pride in saying I've never been to jail. I've never been to jail. He goes, you're not supposed to go to jail. Don't take pride in saying I've never been to jail. Yeah. You're not supposed to go to jail.
Right.
A dad that says, well, I provide shelter and food. You're supposed to. That's a dependent.
Yes.
Above and beyond that, you're supposed to make him a capable young man who's a warrior, who's independent, who's emotionally stable, who knows how to treat a woman, who knows how to stand up against tyranny. And if you haven't done that, then you have failed as a father, even if you provided food and shelter.
Yeah, I think that's 100% on. Now, I read or I heard you were a bouncer.
Yeah.
Okay.
At a gay club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paid more?
Yeah.
Whatever pays more, let's go. You know, I want to talk about the fathers out there. I talk to a lot of fathers, and I tell them to take their kid, their son especially, some daughters too, but take their son especially and teach and take them to a school that either teaches them how to box, teaches them how jiu-jitsu, wrestling, kickboxing, whatever, and just so they can have some knowledge of how to defend themselves. How important is that to teach a young guy that? Your take?
Massively important for two reasons. One, and I think you know this, the more you develop those skills, the more confident you get.
Sure.
So you never want to use those skills. When I was a violent young man who was sporadic, thank God jiu-jitsu wasn't big in my time. I would have been fucked up by people half my size, right? Me and my screwdriver would have both been like asleep. And as I got older and got into martial arts and boxing, and now I've gotten into jiu-jitsu, I realized, like, dude, I don't, unless you have cauliflower ears, I don't know what you're capable of.
Right.
You could be half my size and you might know how to turn me inside out. And so the more I've gained the skills of self-defense, the more confidence I've gained, and the more I don't want to be violent, right? Interestingly enough, so that's one thing. The second thing is every man, no matter what, within, every young boy within, wants to be violent, wants to test himself. This is why young bucks will do this and ram into each other. This is why boys will just start, you put some boys together and they'll find sticks to use as guns and start swords,
Sure.
right? That's just, it's
3 years old, they're doing that.
where'd it come from? It's in us. We just want to see, like, if I poke him, will he bleed, right? We just want to know. And so if you could teach them violence in a systematized area where, ow, 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 I tap out. Hey, guess what? You don't have to break my elbow. Or, okay, you pulled your punch back and I got punched. Ooh, that rocked my world a little bit. I can imagine what a real punch might feel like. I might watch my P's and Q's next time I'm walking down the street and say, what you looking at, bro? Because if this guy in the ring pulled his punch and it hurt, that guy may know how to punch and he ain't gonna pull it. He'll fuck my shit right up. That's the reality. So when you know violence, one, you gain confidence, and two, you've already tested yourself, so you're not going to go around testing yourself against people on the street where you might get killed. And that's the reality of it. Again, growing up in areas of Orange County, like Santa Ana, where you saw violence all the time, bro, no one's like stopping a fight once you're knocked out.
Yeah.
When you're knocked out is when they drag you to the curb and curb your jaw. That's the reality.
Yeah.
So what you going to do about it? If you knew violence, one, you could protect yourself. Two, wouldn't have gotten yourself in that situation in the first place.
Right. Are we good on time?
We're doing great on time.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit before we started, and I know you're very successful, came a long way in business, so many things. And we talked a little bit about how guys can be very successful in maybe one or two areas, maybe business, something else, but maybe they totally suck at being a father, being a husband. Can you really call yourself successful if you're just good maybe just at business and you're horrible at being a husband or a father or even a person, right? Because you watch a lot of things on YouTube, see guys and they look great, or on the gram they have this persona that looks perfect, right? The highlight reel, which you say. But can you really be successful and call yourself a success if you suck at those things?
See, that's a great question, right? I think philosophically speaking, I would say no. Because to me, success is holistic, the whole thing. Like when you put your head down on the pillow, do you have peace of mind that you treated everyone with respect, that you did everything you could to secure your future and your family's future and your health financially? And so, but now someone might look at success as, well, this guy's got flashy cars. Yeah, but he doesn't have the pink slip for any of them. And he's working like a rented mule to be able to pay the payments on all those cars that he's flashing on social media because it gives him that temporary dopamine hit. He likes the idea of being successful rather than actually financial security, right? And so to me, in my mind, success is holistic. It's all around. And in fact, I filmed a video this morning that I'm going to put up later tonight. And I literally, in that video, it's so funny that you're bringing this up, Dave. I go, if you're fat and rich, are you successful? In my eyes, no, you're not. And if you're fit and broke, are you successful? No, you're not.
Yeah.
And what if you're fit and rich, but mentally stressed and overwhelmed and thinking that the sky is falling and everyone's talking shit about you? In other words, have bad mental discipline. You're still not successful. I want to have great mental discipline. I want to be physically fit. I want to be financially stacked. And I want to be socially connected with my wife, with my kids, with my community and friends. I want to know that when I walk out that door and Dave leaves, when someone goes, hey, have you met Bedros? Yeah, man, he's a good dude. He's a good dude, and he's a servant, and he is one of those guys that will be there for you if you need him. Like, that to me is a very key component of success. That gives me fulfillment, significance, that Dave would say something great about me, that I'm going to say something great about you behind your back instead of stabbing you in the back, right? And so true success really is about fitness, having peace of mind, mental fitness and physical fitness, peace of mind, financial security, the ability to stay connected to a community and to know that your family and your friends have your back and that you have their back. Dude, that is success. Someone hustling to keep, there's a dude on social media, I'm sure you probably know of him, and we're not going to drop his name, but it's very interesting how in every video in his Ferrari, his gold watch is somewhere around here by his face. He's here or there, big giant gold blingy watch. That guy I happen to know pretty well, and he's literally on the brink of losing it all. Not financially, but his family.
Yeah.
And he's stressed. And it's because of his alcohol addiction. He's a good dude with an addiction. And he not only is addicted to alcohol, he's addicted to the validation that he gets from social media. And so he will keep this leased Ferrari and he will keep this expensive watch at the expense of losing his family. I share that with you because externally he's very successful. But if you're in his circle, you realize that he's not, and it breaks my heart. So no, success is not binary where, sadly, the world measures it by what you drive, what you fly in, the home you have. But all of those things can be rented, including a private jet. Like I can fly out of Chino Airport on George Clooney's Gulfstream because he's got it on the NetJet network, right? Like he doesn't fly out on it all day long, so it's part of a rental thing. If I
film a cool video.
Right. And so if I film a cool video of me in that jet, I don't have to say that it's George Clooney's. I don't have to say that I'm renting it. I can just make it look like it's mine. And everyone's going to go, wow, he's even more successful. I want you to measure my success by the impact I've made in other men. I want you to measure my success by the contribution I've made to Shriners Children's Hospital, Toys for Tots, Compassion International, where we've got 97 kids adopted, my wife and I, through Compassion International. Nice. I want you to measure my success by the generation that's going to grow up and take back this country, which we're starting to see now. Like, this country will not collapse. This country is going to get taken back. Measuring my success on what I fly on is my business, not anyone else's.
Nice. How important is it for men or people in general to have some sort of accountability? I think holding yourself accountable. I think a lot of men in particular don't have anybody that will hold them accountable, that won't BS them, that would be straight up with them. I find a lot of guys, if you baby them and be nice to them, kind of soft, in the long run, they usually end up falling off really, really big, right? Mm-hmm. See this a lot in the church. You get the guy who comes into the church, you want to help him, you know the right way to disciple this guy, and it is rough, it is tough. There's no bending here, but those guys last. Yeah. But the guys that you kind of baby along and you don't really, give them the truth, and tell them things they don't want to hear and challenge them and make them accountable. Hey, you're late or you're not here. Those guys are the ones that tend to fall off. And I think in general, how important is it to be accountable to somebody?
Well, you look at the AA, Alcoholics Anonymous program. The way it was developed is that every new person into AA gets a sponsor. The sponsor is there for that new person to be held accountable to, right? So you see that in addiction. You see it in fitness. The person who gets a personal trainer is now being held accountable not only to their bank account, because the personal trainer is not cheap, but also to a human that they see 3 to 4 days a week, and that human's tracking what you ate, tracking your workouts, tracking the intensity, taking measurements, right? And we all know that which that you measure and track gets improved. And so accountability. And then I look at my sales team upstairs, my franchise and my coaching program sales team. When we track and measure the key performance indicators, KPIs, and they're held accountable to me and my CEO up there, Bryce, they improve and they do their job better. And so we as humans in every facet, from addiction to weight loss or fitness goals to making money, need accountability. Going back to what we talked about earlier, because we are tribal, we are a community-driven thing, right? And so this is why they say, like, if you're gonna go run a marathon, like, now more than ever, there is a lot of benefits to social media. It's not just all negative. Like, if you announced it on social media that, hey, on this date, I'm running the San Diego Marathon to all your, 1,000 followers, right? You are like 10 times more likely to run that because, dude, you just announced that thing.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to be the guy that goes, oh, okay, the marathon came and went. Hey, bro, did you run it? Because I didn't see you post about it. No, I didn't. I'm a loser, right? So social accountability or individual accountability is massively, massively important. This goes back to, again, why do people not hold themselves accountable to others? No, because they've started choosing easy so much that getting any kind of feedback, like you said, in church, when we give them feedback, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. Sometimes you have to be rugged in how you paint the picture to them, and they go, oh shit, that's how I'm showing up? That's the damage I'm doing to my family? It's not pretty, but that works. Many years ago, I tore my bicep. And when the doctors went in and pulled it back down and reattached it, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks later, through rehab, etc., I'm telling my doctor, I'm like, hey man, I don't think I'm ever gonna do pull-ups again. He's like, are you kidding me? He goes, dude, go do pull-ups. You'll be fine. I'm like, I don't know, man. He goes, if you snap a bicep, it's gonna be your other one, not the one I reattached. I go, what do you mean? He goes, when you break a bone, that area of the bone is more dense with minerals. When you tear a muscle and I reattach it, that muscle and its tendon builds such strong scar tissue that if you're gonna tear anything, it'll be the other one.
Wow.
Ironically, same doctor did my ACL reconstruction, told me the same thing about that. So we know that when we are broken, we are built back stronger through connective tissue, right?
Yeah.
The emotional connective tissue is there as well. But we need someone, a mentor, who loves on us. In that moment, it may not seem like you're loving on me because it seems like you're shitting on me when you're telling me all the things I'm doing wrong and all the ways I can come to living a righteous life. But when you break me through love, I will be built back stronger. Sadly, most people want to bubble wrap everyone because everyone's been bubble wrapped for so long and we don't want to offend. It's okay, offend someone with love. Break them with love. The project, the 75-hour men's personal development program, the way I jokingly talk about it, I go, it is the most violent healing experience you will go through. The most violent healing experience you will, wait a minute, violence and, yeah, those two work together. It is very violent. You got a Navy SEAL and an angry sociopathic Marine yelling at you, and I'm trying to reel them back for 75 hours while I'm teaching these guys life structure, productivity, discipline, business growth. That's my zone of genius in the project. The Navy SEAL and the Marine just want you to ring the bell and leave. They are just competing to see which of them can get more of these guys to ring the bell by hour number 75, right? But at the graduation dinner, when I go through and I go, hey guys, now it's your turn to rank us as instructors. Navy SEAL and the Marine always get ranked number 1 and 2.
Wow.
And the reason for that is they did the most amount of breaking of these men during the 75 hours.
It's amazing.
It's crazy how that works, man. We need to be broken down with love to be rebuilt.
And it's been proven. Military, all the time.
Yes.
You ask any military guy, they break you down for 3 weeks. You feel like nothing, but you come out there and you're a hard dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's the key.
And this is why when the guys go to war together, they come back and they are tighter in terms of, like they call each other brother. They're tighter together than the actual sibling that they left behind at home, right?
Right.
And one of the things I teach at the project, there's this misconception that's been twisted where you hear about, well, blood is thicker than water. That phrase has been taken out of context. Blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, is how that goes. Meaning the blood that men spill together when they're broken, when they're in battle, when they're going through the shit together, when they're doing hardship together, that will bond men more than men who have shared the water of the womb. That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
We must be broken with love and to be grown and healed whole again. But again, the world has gotten so good at bubble wrapping and let's not offend you. And if you offend me, I might cancel you, bro. So if everyone's worried about canceling, how are we going to tell the truth?
Do you worry about canceling?
Fuck no. Look, if I get canceled, it'll be the greatest thing ever. I'm going to tell you why. If I get canceled, I don't have to put up another Instagram post, another Facebook post, another Twitter post. Like Julian here, who's got a camera, an iPhone aimed at us right now. Like, bro, you could stop doing that shit and you and I can go to Dana Point and surf all day long while these guys run the franchise and the supplement company and all that stuff. I'm not saying I should be canceled because I think I've got a valuable message that serves humanity, but I also realize I say it in a way sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. Thankfully, I don't think I'm big enough to be canceled. But then again, you look at the Teflon Don, not the original one, but Joe Rogan. Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Homeboy did not get canceled.
No.
And good for him.
They tried hard.
They tried hard, man.
Do you think we have it backwards? We think we have to watch our speech sometimes. I mean, there's certain things you can't say. We all know that. But do you think that we have it backwards where we think like, I always feel like when I'm more outspoken on things, when I say what I feel, like it empowers other people.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I believe that too. And sometimes I'll trip out. I'll put a little post and kind of speak my mind and say, no, that's wrong. I don't think that's right. And some people like out of the blue come out and go, yeah, me too, dude. I just couldn't say it. You think that if you speak up, sometimes it empowers other people to take a stand with you?
Absolutely. When you say what's on everyone else's mind, they feel empowered that, oh, you know what, I'm not crazy after all. Dave's got a good platform. I trust Dave's opinion and judgment. He seems to be pretty level-headed. And if he just outwardly, outright said what I believe, you know what, man, I feel safer to say that next time. And I think that's how we are going to get our country back. That's how we are going to fall back into a healthy society where we can communicate without conflict. During this whole Black Lives Matter thing that took place in 2020 when homeboy got choked out by the cop, which was sad, man. That shouldn't have happened. Whether you're a drug dealer, and I know he put a gun to a pregnant woman,
yeah,
that cop was wrong.
Cold way to go out.
Yeah, and he was an idiot for putting himself in a position to get there in the first place. All that said, whenever I write Instagram posts, because I'm Armenian and I'm hairy, and a lot of my coaching clients always go like, hey man, you're like a hairy gorilla. So I always, about every now and again, I'll put a heart emoji and the gorilla emoji. Bro, during 2020, when that whole thing was happening, I put up a post and I put the heart and the gorilla emoji. All these motherfuckers were like, oh my God, gorilla, huh? We know what you're saying. We know what you're implying that I'm like anti-black, anti-whatever. Literally all my black friends, Tillman, who's a cop here in Chino, comes to my defense. Remy Adeleke, a black dude who's a Navy SEAL out of San Diego, dear friend of mine, comes to my defense on that post. But how sad that an emoji triggered some fools. If you just went back 4 posts or to 2019 before this whole thing, you'd see that I put a gorilla up there and it ain't no big deal, right? But that's how hypersensitive we've gotten.
Yeah.
Where God forbid you say something that offends someone. But those who do say things like that gets people to wake up and go, oh shoot, Dave said what I believe and I trust Dave's opinion on life. You know what? I have confidence to say it as well. And now we just got one more person to back us up. So I think we have a duty and an obligation to not trying to be polarizing just to be sensationalized and get attention, etc. Like there's also people who just say stupid shit to get attention. But like, dude, you've got a duty and an obligation to say what's on your mind because you've got a following and I've got a following and our following is like, I don't want to say anything. I've got celebrities as dear friends, like actual movie celebrities as dear friends who send me a text message and go, I can't like that post.
Me
because,
too.
Right?
I got pastor friends.
Yeah.
That tell me that all the time.
I can't like your post, but
I agree with what you said, but I can't like it. But you know what? You're right on the money.
Yeah. But that same pastor and that same celebrity actor might, over coffee, be able to influence that one guy on that movie set in private.
Yeah.
And we did our job.
Right. I agree. I like recently what you talked about on social media, and it was that you had become a little bit out of shape. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
You kind of let yourself go, you said, and very transparent. Like you said, you put it out there, so you're holding yourself accountable. Mm-hmm. I love that. I had Lilo Brocanto. He played C on A Bronx Tale, right?
Yeah.
And he gives a little word every morning, and he goes, I don't say that because I figured it all out. I say that to hold myself accountable to everybody that's following me. Mm-hmm. So I will do what I say. And he goes, that's why I do it. And I go, I love that. And I love the way you put that out there too. With that said, do we ever arrive? Do you look at yourself and go, I made it. I'm an entrepreneur. I got a great business. I'm a great husband. I'm a great father. I give back to my community. Or are you constantly saying, how can I get better every day?
Now I'm wise enough at 47 to realize you have to constantly say, how can I get better every day? And how can I keep moving towards my goal? Because when I was younger, when I was 29 years old, I created my first business, High Tech Trainer. It was an online personal training software in 2005, before there was even any Google, any of that stuff, right? And so it was how personal trainers can email workouts. It wasn't an app, there was no iPhones or any of that stuff. But I share this with you because it was called High Tech Trainer, and me and my wife, we had just gotten married a year earlier, we would always talk about when we get a high tech, we always call it when we get the high tech house, which meant when we get the multi-million-dollar house, we're gonna have a high tech Christmas tree, we're gonna have the high tech car, and when we arrive, we always thought that there's gonna be something's gonna happen, that we've got the car, we've got the house, we've got the Christmas tree, we've got the kids, and then you're there and no one can take it away. Almost like if you get abs, once you get to like 4% leanness, you can't get fat anymore even if you eat pizza. Not true, as I've proven, right? As I've proven several times in my life.
Same.
Yeah, so I share that with you because as I'm wiser now, I'm like, oh man, it is a fine balance. It is a fine balance, and you better make sure that the people around you are not negative and not stressing you out, because if they are, I'm an emotional eater, bro. I'm gonna start eating emotionally. I'm not a heavy drinker. It's just alcohol is not my thing, but I will eat you out of bagels and pizza and cream cheese. Yeah. Like your fridge will be empty. I'm that guy, and so I can't have people who stress me out, who trigger me, and so I'm very protective of my circle. I'm very protective of my environment. I don't want food around me late at night or food that's going to make me fat, because if it's out there, I read a study that you're 4 times more likely to reach for that cookie at night than in the morning. Same cookie that's on the same fucking buffet table in the kitchen. In the morning, you got all this fresh willpower. I just woke up, I feel great. At night, after running an international franchise supplement company, talking to lawyers, it's like, you get home, you're like, okay, that cookie's like talking to you, bro. It's like, hey, come take a bite. It's like, I don't want to, but I'm gonna have to, It becomes a whole crazy thing, bro. And so I've learned that I have to control my environment. I have to control the people around me. My wife you can't go ordering like bread pudding in front of me. You're gonna eat bread pudding, like do it when I'm on a business trip.
Right.
Because I will eat she can take 2 bites. You wanna share? We'll just take 2 bites. I can't take
it's
2
never
bites.
2 bites.
I will take every bite and then lick the plate. I'm that guy.
Mine's is chips.
There you go.
Don't bring chips in the house.
We all have
chips
our thing,
house,
right?
I'm eating that whole bag.
And so I share this with you because, yes, social accountability is important to that stuff. You got to stay fit. You've never arrived. The moment you think you've arrived, you're already sliding back. Or let's say you have arrived, and then another pandemic happens. I've talked to many people who have gone to business, because I've dropped out of college in the first 32 days. I dropped out of Fullerton Junior College. So I'm not a college graduate, my friend. But I've talked to many people that have MBAs. Many of them are my coaching clients. I'm like, hey, when you were getting your MBA, Master's in Business Administration, what semester did they talk about a virus that shuts down the world and the economy, and how did they teach you to deal with it? I just want to know if I dealt with it right. It's like, well, they didn't. Yeah, you're right, they didn't. They didn't. And so even if you think you've arrived, as Grant Cardone says, go ahead and make 10x more money, get 10x more fit, get 10x more everything, because if you've arrived and then a pandemic happens, I had to sell 3 of my rental properties to be able to fund Fit Body Bootcamp, our gym franchise. We went through the PPP like this. Both rounds of PPP we burnt through, and then the SBA loan we burnt through. And I look at my wife, she looks at me, I'm like, sell the homes, sell the rental properties. Imagine if I was like, well, we've arrived, we don't need rental properties and assets.
Yeah.
Bro, the pandemic would have flattened me out.
So life is constantly changing.
Life is changing, and you must be reinforced physically, mentally, financially, with a community. I remember we had one L10 means level 10 meeting. It's a thing from a book called Traction. Gino Wickman wrote a great book called Traction. But my companies, all the different companies, we have a weekly level 10 meeting. And obviously it was in 2020, and I walked out of this level 10 meeting like I was done. I was just over. Like I felt hopeless. And I walk into my office from the conference room, and my operations director, Matt, walks in behind me into my office. He closes the door behind him, and he looks at me and goes, hey man, you all right? I was like, no, Matt, I'm not. I don't know if I need to smoke weed tonight. I don't know if I need to drink heavily, and I don't even like alcohol. I don't know where Fit Body Bootcamp is going to go. It was right around when we had lost 200 locations.
Oh,
in one, bro, we're talking like over like a 1 quarter period. Yeah, right? 200 locations.
Yeah.
Do the math on how many millions of dollars that costs, right? And so, your whole like identity is tied to your business. You skipped birthday parties, and you skipped weddings, and you cut holidays and vacations short to grow this company. And now in one 4-month period, you're losing it all. And I go, Matt, I don't know what to do, man. I don't know what to do. Now, he didn't have an answer for me either. But he listened to me for about 10 minutes. He listened to me bitch and complain. And then he gave me a fist bump, and he walked out of my office. I felt better afterwards. And so we have to be, like I said, physically stacked, mentally stacked, spiritually stacked, have faith in a higher power, whether it's God or have faith in a higher power that you're on a path and you're being tested, and there is a greater outcome on the other side of this test if you don't give up. And then to have to be socially stacked, where a friend will walk into a room and say, I don't have the answer and I don't know what you're feeling because I'm one of your employees. I don't have the risk that you do, but I'll listen to you bitch and complain right now, and I'll give you a fist bump.
That's huge.
And hope you feel better. And I did.
Yeah. Lastly.
Yes, sir.
If you could have one trait or tell a person one trait they needed to have to start their success story or to become successful, what trait would that be?
Oh, that's simple. I wish someone would have told me this 25 years ago. Solve a problem. Solve a specific problem that people have in exchange for money. That's it. People are trying to create all these businesses. Every business that you can think of is a solution to a problem in exchange for money. And if you could solve one problem, like if, in my case, it was fat loss, right? I was able to lose weight as a young man. I was like, I want to help others lose weight. I've literally built a multi-million-dollar empire off the back of fitness franchising. And so solve a problem that many people have in exchange for money. That is that simple. That's how easily financial success is gained. And then when you gain financial success, use that money to build personal development and to help out churches and causes and charities that you believe in. That way you have a sense of fulfillment there, because money cannot fulfill you. Help society, serve, help yourself in terms of health and fitness, and let that cup overflow so you can help your neighbors and community. But it starts with solving a problem that people have in exchange for money.
So good.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one thing. On the Street Gospel Podcast, we have a last segment that's called the Furious Five.
Furious Five. Let it rip.
We ask you 5 quick, furious questions.
Okay.
Kind of fun, kind of different stuff. But
I'm nervous, but okay, let's do it.
First job you ever had?
First job I had was at the age of 13. I was emptying grocery store trucks at this hole-in-the-wall grocery store in Cerritos.
Just that's it.
Yeah.
Simple. Mm-hmm. Burgers or tacos?
Burgers.
Burgers.
Yes, sir.
Why?
I don't like crunchy tacos, man. Even when they have crunchy tacos, okay, unless it was like soft tacos, then it'd be a good. I'd probably go soft tacos. But if you say taco, I don't like crunchy. I don't like taco shells. I like
Burgers.
Yeah.
From where?
I
Best
do like
burger.
In-N-Out, and do you know where Taps is? In
No.
Brea? Bro, all right. You and your wife got to go. If you guys like burgers, you go to Taps in Brea.
Okay.
And then you order their burger as an appetizer. It's a main course, but you order it and you have them cut it in half. That way it's an appetizer. And they use like Kobe beef and then ribeye. It's like a mixture of 3 different ground beefs. It'll change your life. I'm
Okay.
a burger fanatic. There you go.
Question number 3.
Yeah.
If you weren't the successful guy you were,
Yeah.
what would you be doing? Dream job.
I would be a bartender at a 5-star hotel lobby bar.
Giving advice all day.
Yeah, just like I love like
Listening.
learning about people. Yeah, I love learning about. And then Ed there would be the DJ in that lobby playing the music. But I look at bartenders and I'm like, I would love that job. At a 5-star hotel, I want to be like at a pub where like you're
Some rundown bar in Santa Ana.
yeah, exactly. I spent too much time in Santa Ana, bro. Where you're like kicking people out. Yeah, I mean, I don't want that.
Bouncer /
Yeah.
everything, cook
Forget
/
that. God.
bartender.
Yeah.
All right, question number 4. If you had one sport you can play professionally, what would it be?
Oh, you got me there. Is ping pong considered a sport? I'm not being funny.
In China, I think it is.
Okay, well, let's pretend we're in China then. Well,
Ping pong?
it's part of the
Are you
Olympics.
good at ping pong?
I'm pretty damn good.
We got to play one of these days. I'm pretty good.
Are you really?
Yeah.
You know what? Since you live local, dude, you're gonna have to come by.
I'll come by one of these days.
Yeah, I'm not saying I can beat you, but
No,
I'm pretty damn good.
I'm not saying I can beat you either.
Yeah.
I'm not a sucker for that. You're probably slide.
But yeah, ping pong. My
Let's
dad
play for
raised me
money.
playing ping pong, and like I think I'd be pretty good. Like if I hadn't gone down the path, like I've got really good hand-eye coordination, and my lateral movements are pretty good. Anyways, ping pong.
All right. Last question. Number 5, Street Gospel Podcast Furious 5. Word of advice for a young guy out there, has no path to success, is just down and out, doesn't have a mentor, doesn't have anything. What would you tell him the first thing he needs to do?
The first thing that a young guy needs to do, if you're down and out, you don't have a mentor, is change your headspace. And the fastest way to change your headspace is to get in the gym and start working out. I'm telling you, there's something magical about working out, lifting weights, getting fit. You know this. Your body fitness is a gateway drug to mental toughness, to financial success, to confidence. Like change your body, because I can't change him liking me as a friend. If I'm down and out and maybe he fired me and then he won't talk to me and then she broke up with me, these are all 3 different people who I can't influence. I can influence me. I can get abs, I can develop shoulders. And when I do that, I know the hard work it took to do this. And that gives me a sense of confidence. And that confidence makes me keep my head up high. And when you have your head up high, people start noticing. And when they start noticing, they hire you, they start dating you, and they want to be friends with you again. And that's how you regain everything again.
So good. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for
Thank
having me
you.
out. Great spot.
Appreciate
Great
it, man.
staff. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.